Welcome to the Common Ground Podcast, where stories connect, perspectives collide, and purpose is found in the middle. Every week, we sit down with unique and inspiring guests that come from all walks of life. People who challenge the status quo, overcome the odds, and live with intentionality. Whether you're driving to work, on your morning walk, or just looking for that spark to ignite your week, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Common Ground Podcast with your hosts, John Fletcher and Sydney Nicole.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition, not just another edition, the anniversary edition of the Common Ground Podcast. That's right. It is our anniversary episode. And I know before I even get started, before I even mention my name, because, no, we're going to go with my name first. I'm Philly. I'm in the house. I'm in the building, as always, here to rock it. I am so excited because this is our anniversary episode. When I first started this project a little over a year ago, and thought about it, man, I thought if I got 20 episodes out, that it would be a hit. And this is episode 54 because we did one week where we did 2 episodes. So instead of 52, we've done 53 in 1 year. So this is episode 54. I never imagined that this day would come along, but it did. And I'm super excited to be doing this episode. And there's no other person who I could do this with. Now, Sydney looks good playing the piano. Sydney looks good playing the guitar. Sydney can rock out and look good playing the drums. And Sydney looks good singing you a love song. So, as always, I could not do it without my partner in crime, Miss Sydney Nicole. How are you doing, Sydney?
I am ready to celebrate our year anniversary together for sure. I think that this is going to be a fantastic episode. We put a lot of thought into who we were going to have here for this. And so I'm excited not only for you to introduce them, but to kick it off with one of your corny dad jokes, because it just feels really appropriate for this episode.
Yeah. Before I tell you the dad, well, no, let's do the dad jokes first. So I was going to tell you that I don't know if you know, but I used to be in a band. But our band was called Sold Out. So our gig posters looked fantastic, but nobody showed up.
Well, yep.
So 2 windmills are standing in a field, and one asks the other, "What kind of music do you like?" The other one says, "I'm a big metal fan."
Yes. Clever. Very clever. And appropriate.
But I'm super excited. I know leading up to this, I put out some clues we've disguised who this episode was going to be. So 1 year ago, before we get into the name, 1 year ago, we launched the Common Ground Podcast with one mission: to prove respectful conversation still matters. Since then, we've welcomed authors, musicians, therapists, entrepreneurs, athletes, survivors, faith leaders, and people from every walk of life. We've had conversations that challenged us, inspired us, and reminded us why common ground is worth searching for. Today's episode is especially meaningful because we're celebrating our 1 year anniversary. And joining us is someone who has been part of this journey almost from the very beginning. I actually just looked back, and when we recorded this person's episode, it is exactly 2 days from the year that we recorded their episode. So back in our first season, he joined us in episode 4. So since then, both of our journeys have evolved, making him the perfect guest to help us celebrate this truly remarkable milestone. So it is with my absolute pleasure that I get to introduce our special guest, the anniversary honorary guest of DK Lyons. Welcome, DK.
How are we doing? Thank you guys so much for having me back. Congratulations on an incredible year of doing this podcast and undoubtedly changing a lot of lives for your listeners and your hosts. And I just couldn't be more grateful to be back here and helping celebrate the 1 year.
There was nobody more appropriate to do it. It's really exciting to have you back, and you've had a really busy year too.
Undoubtedly. But like you said, Philly, it's fun to look back and see how much has changed in the span of a year. So
Yeah, and we're just really excited to watch your growth and see how you are growing and excelling and maturing as a person, as an artist, as a musician. So it's really excited. You know, when your first, well, it wasn't your first, but the first time you were on with us, we had you talking about your EP that was coming out, and it was a great EP. And now you haven't released your second EP, but you have released at least one song on it called Merry Go Round. So I do advise everybody to check that out. But you do have an upcoming EP that is also coming out. So I've gotten to hear a couple of the songs, and they're not in the final stages, but they already rock. So I'm excited for for this for this to come out, and can't wait till you get to share it with everybody else.
No, it's very exciting. You know, in classic me fashion, I had a pretty big ambition of doing back-to-back EPs. The first one, like you mentioned, came out last year, and pretty immediately after putting it out, I had already started writing and getting ready to record what would become a companion EP for it. And so spent the whole winter really kind of crafting the songs, and now I'm in kind of the final production stages on a lot of fronts. Bringing my band into the fold to do backup vocals, things of that nature. I'll probably still be under the gun and under the deadline, like I always am with this kind of thing. But yeah, really exciting to be in a place of putting out new music. And I think, to your point about reflecting back, the EP we talked about last year, I know we'll probably go into this within the conversation, was asking a lot of questions about, you know, true love in our current society and connection and authenticity and those things. And it was going through the whole process of making that EP and putting it out that I kind of was able to answer some of those questions for myself. And that's why this new EP is kind of a reflection on that growth and on the lessons that I learned going through that first process. So yeah, I'm excited for it all to come out.
It's going to be really awesome. I am excited to dive into that because we're not talking about the same thing, but we're following up on it in a different regard. And so, with that being said, since appearing as our guest on episode 4 of the foundation of the Common Ground podcast, what has changed most in your life?
Where to start, honestly? I think I'm a completely different person than I was last year in a lot of regards. This EP that I made last year was the first time I'd really made anything on my own. I'd always worked with other producers and kind of had them to rely on. And it was a massive growth struggle, really, to go through and learn how to self-produce on the music front and kind of have to face yourself late nights and early mornings. And you are like the one who is managing every last note that gets played. And that was definitely a challenging process for me. And it really wore me down. And it wore me down to some pretty serious like physical proportions last year, where I was actually really struggling with some health things last fall. I had to cancel some shows. I had to cancel some promotion for the EP to really kind of focus on my health. And thankfully, after months of going through, different testing and seeing different doctors, was able to figure out the root cause and start to get better, and really spent the winter kind of getting back in touch with myself at a very core level, because I'd kind of been thrown off course for a while there. And as part of that rebuilding process of my body and my mental health, I was able to start building this new musical project as well. So I think the new project is got some similarities to what we talked about last year, but I think the overall feeling of it is, at least to me, a lot more organic and authentic sounding, because it's kind of me going through that rebirth at the same time as I was making it.
Right. Yeah, that's good stuff. Now, your first EP was about the question of if true love exists and what that looks like in society today. Throughout the process of creating that, you had your companion EP that you came out with this concept for. What did the unfolding of that look like? At what point did you realize, okay, this is it? This is the companion EP?
It happened like the moment I fell in love with someone in a very organic way. I'd been single for a number of years and, kind of going through the dating scene as a lot of people do. And, the modern dating scene has many challenges to it, obviously. And was kind of just taking a step back and looking at it holistically. And it was not even dating, just the context of like human relationships in our modern world. And it was coming off of, COVID, obviously, and, kind of different things happening, where I think I was feeling a lot of claustrophobia and kind of disconnection in society. And I was kind of seeing that not only through like my own experiences, but as we talked about last year, there are songs on that EP that are telling other people's stories and, kind of focusing on different components of love, whether it's, monogamy or committing to having children with someone or, being able to let go of overthinking everything and just enjoying, love and life and things of that nature. And as I had written that EP and was working on it, I literally met someone who kind of answered all those questions for me personally. And so it was kind of interesting having to finish that EP that was asking this big question and kind of has some more like dark themes to it. But in reality, like I was living kind of a completely 180 of that. And so when I was going through that 180 and having all of these questions answered and, seeing the kind of new side of life, that's kind of when I knew I was like, okay, I have to document this, and I'm feeling all these incredibly powerful things that I need to put out through music. And so, the seeds were kind of sown in the middle of finishing up that last EP that I was going to put something else out pretty immediately. That, was the other side of the coin.
You wrote the first EP and you're performing it. But now you have this different outlook with the second EP. How hard was it for you to be performing something because it felt like that was the past you and now you're kind of living this new you and wanting to explore this new you? What was it a struggle to sing like the songs that no longer felt complete, now feel incomplete because now you have the second half of the story?
No, not necessarily. And it's something that I think a lot of musicians obviously deal with, right? Like there are artists that are around for 40 years and they still have to play songs they wrote when they were 25. And I think this was a good overarching learning experience in that, like, just because I wasn't feeling that exact way anymore didn't mean that wasn't still a core part of my life. And it was still a question I had asked and still a feeling I had felt very, very much so at the time that I wrote it. So anytime I performed it or, made a music video for a song or things of that nature, I was still tapping into that original feeling. Cause I don't, I don't think those things necessarily completely die. Like you still feel things that you felt when you were 7 years old, even though it was a long time ago. And I think that was kind of just the approach that I took when performing those songs from the first EP. So yeah, for me, it was just kind of dipping back into the past and still being able to access those feelings, even though they weren't the ones that I was consciously feeling.
Kind of like me and how I started this episode off this saying, I didn't expect 20 episodes, right? How has that shifted, like even this new EP? Like, where was the mind shift? How did that, like, where did that shift come from? Like, wow, like this was my perspective, but now I have this other perspective. Where was that mindset and like that feeling like, wow, maybe I do deserve love? I know, because like one of the things I think we were even talking about was how I knew you had I remember in our episode before there was this pain, and like love was a pain, but it was also something that you dreamt in fairy tale land but now how has your perspective shifted since you're experiencing that thing that you treasure you know
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to put into words because thinking back to that time when I was writing the EP, like it was a time where I was feeling very disconnected, I think, from a lot of life, and I was making not poor choices, but just like not taking a lot seriously that I should have been taking seriously. And then I think when you fall in love with someone, your priorities change inevitably, right? Like you are suddenly um you're giving yourself over to this unexplainable feeling, and you're giving yourself over to this story you're not necessarily in control of because it's someone else that's part of it too, right? And you have to live in symbiosis with that other person. It's not just like waking up in the morning and be like, I want to eat this for breakfast and go to the gym because it's just me in control. Like now when you're sharing your life with someone, it just opens up this entirely new kind of set of responsibilities. And I think having having those to like look forward to again just completely changed my perspective on life and made me want to make better choices across the board, wanting to take care of my health because I wanted to be there for someone else. And, things of that nature. I think that's what really shifted in me is, it kind of helped me grow up a little bit. And also it helped me really get that perspective of how precious life is, not just when you're with someone else, but like the whole package.
So at what point did you realize that this special lady was not just an inspiring song, but that she was changing the entire story that you wrote in your first EP?
Yeah, well, we met in a very kismet way. It was at a bar, funny enough, which like if you're living in New York, like nobody meets at bars anymore. Like everyone's doing the dating app thing. And we just had this really funny, beautiful like first moment meeting, and from there, I like knew pretty immediately that I had just met someone really incredible, and um, kind of told her as such right then and there. Which it is what it is. So no shame about that. But no, within like about a few weeks of meeting and starting to date a little bit, I had to leave on a 2-week work trip. That was like taking me all across the West Coast and then down to Chile and South America. And then like 2 days before I was supposed to get back, she was flying overseas to Turkey. So we were going to go like a month without seeing each other, basically. And we we talked on the phone, like if not every night, like almost every other night, and we were just texting constantly, and not just like the usual like early relationship kind of flirtatious stuff. Like we were having just amazingly deep conversations right off the bat, and I felt like it was someone I had known my entire life and someone who immediately like cared for me and respected me, and I felt the same way back for her. So when she got back after not seeing each other for a month, it's been pretty much in symbiosis ever since then, and that was almost 2 years ago now. So I just feel really, really incredibly lucky to have found someone that really is the perfect like yin to my yang, if you will, and yeah, I mean, I'm obviously incredibly grateful she's inspired the songs and the music, and there will undoubtedly be a lot more. But just even on top of that, having someone to share that connection with, I'm just incredibly grateful for.
How far along in the process were you of writing the first EP? I'm just asking timeline wise because we interviewed you a year ago now, almost to the day. So, and you met her 2 years ago, you're saying?
Yes. So the first EP was written. I'd literally finished writing it a month before I met her. Like literally that close in time. Like the last song I wrote for the EP is the last song of the EP, because Baby That's Life, and the chorus is just literally asking like, what's the point of falling in love if you know that it's going to end either way, whether in the end of the relationship or obviously eventually dying. And like the woman on the screen says a line like, because baby, that's life. And like, I swear to God, it was like manifestation, where within like a month, Jasmine and I met and we started dating and all of that. But then it was kind of interesting, right? Because I like had these finished songs and I like had the first single done that I was going to put out. And I was going through the process of recording all these songs and polishing them and all of this. And at the same time, was falling in love and starting to experience all these things. And then to going back to the main point about like, yeah, at times it was weird to promote this thing when I knew I was already writing this companion EP that was going to kind of answer all these questions. So I think that's just kind of like the strange thing that I don't know that people think about all the time with the music industry. Like when your favorite artist puts out an album and you're like, oh my God, I'm so in love with this right now. This is exactly how they must be feeling right now at this moment. It's like, no, that's probably how they were feeling like 12 to 18 months ago at this point.
Right.
Like it's kind of like a mind bending thing, but yeah.
And they may even be sick of singing that song by this time.
I mean, that is the other thing that like, I joke about it a little bit, but like, I swear by the time I'm ready to put a song out, like I never want to listen to that song again, because trust me, I've been listening to it on repeat and making minor tweaks and beating my head against the wall for literal months. So yeah. But then you get over it and you learn to love it when you get to play it live and stuff like that. So
yeah.
So on your first EP, there was a definite order to the songs because it spelled out a sentence. With this EP, and I know it's not completed yet, is it going to go in some kind of order? Like, are the songs going to be like a chronicle order or something like that? Or
Yep. Yeah. In classic me fashion, I just couldn't help myself. And like, so the EP is also 7 songs, just like the first EP. And each song from the new EP matches up to a song from the old EP. So like whether it's just like a feeling or there's like a direct reference to it. For instance, like in Love Seeking, which is on the first EP, there's a line like, about like the purple hazy light and like seeing this vision of this person in my head that I want it to be real and wanting her to like come and change my life. There's a song on the new EP called Reckless Enchantment where that real thing happens in real life, which it did with this person at a karaoke bar. And so like there's a lot of parallels between the 2 EPs. And so the new EP chronologically starts like in the moments before I met this person with merry-go-round, this interaction with a fortune teller who I'm kind of just like spiraling out to about life. And then it ends with like, no, like something is going to come and change your life. And then the rest of the EP is basically documenting the first 6 months from meeting this person to starting to become vulnerable with this person, to start talking about shared values, to eventually declaring love for this person. And then at the end being like, no, this could be something that literally lasts us until the end of our lives. So it definitely follows that like chronological vibe.
I love the way that your brain works in that capacity because mine is very similar in like different, more business related regards, but just that organization and the cross correlation. Not the same, but all 3 of my businesses have Hebrew origin in their names that no one.
No way. Wow.
Yeah. So
very cool.
Yeah, no, I like the way your brain works in that capacity. Which song in the new EP, and maybe the answer is all of them, but I want like this one the most, would not have existed if you hadn't fallen in love?
Literally none of them, honestly. Like I think each one, they're not all like love songs, right? Like I wouldn't sit there and be like, I'm going to write 6 songs in a row and they're all the same love song. Like that's just not
Right.
how I operate at all. Like each song has to, for me at least, like ask a new question and then provide some sort of answer to it. And so like the second song is me, like this is something I write a lot, honestly, which is should be telling, but it's a song about like letting go of overthinking about every single interaction when it comes to being like falling in love and all these different things. Like you should really just shut up and enjoy every part of the process because you're never going to have that first kiss ever again. You're never going to have X, Y, and Z ever again. So rather than like overthinking it, like enjoy it, let yourself be enveloped by it and like entirely. Whereas like the song that follows it is all about like commitment and like monogamy and these things that and also the like the subtle moments like walking down the street and sharing headphones and holding hands and just listening to a song together, or like the really beautiful things that come from allowing yourself to open up to intimacy. The next song after that is all about the age difference between the 2 of us and like my experience versus her experience. So like each one is very unique to our relationship and also is asking a very unique question versus just being like, I love you, I'm proclaiming my love for you the 5 times very similar ways, if that makes sense. So to answer your question, pretty much none of them would exist because they're all very much about specific experiences and specific questions that I was asking of the universe.
And I think that's also one of the reasons why I really like you. Kind of like I like patterns. I like things that like 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 what you just said, like the love songs, like everybody can just write a love song. I love the fact that you go deeper and I love the fact that you ask a question and try to answer the question, So I love that whole thing. But since we're talking about the new EP, let's start with the first one that you've released, Merry-Go-Round. What's the story behind it?
Yeah, Merry-Go-Round is a song it was one of those where the chorus kind of came to me probably like late at night or like first thing when I woke up in the morning, and I was just like, this is catchy. I want to like follow down this line of thinking. And it was one of those things I just sat down with my acoustic guitar and just started like singing out a melody to it, and then eventually the words of the first verse started coming together, because I knew the chorus was going to be the merry-go-round thing, but I was like, I don't know what that means. Like what's going to lead me to like singing this chorus. And my mom was telling me a story about going to see like a palm reader and like what that was like. And I had jotted down some notes that were kind of all circling around it, and had a bunch of just different ideas, and kind of landed on this concept of going and seeking out this kind of clairvoyant person to ask them why I felt so kind of like out of touch, and why I was living the life I was living in the first EP. And she kind of just gives me all of these like encouraging like moments, and then again flips over the tarot card at the end, which is the 10 of cups, and which is like a sign of incoming like fulfillment, specifically when it comes to like romantic life, work, those kind of things. And so like it just kind of there's a lot of story driven elements, and then a lot of different kind of more like abstract moments. But what I really love about it is there's a lot of allusions to T.S. Eliot's famous poem The Wasteland, which is my girlfriend's like all-time favorite poem. And that poem came out 100 years ago, and it was like revolutionary at the time because of the kind of like the offbeat nature of how the language was used. But the whole theme of it is like kind of the same feelings I was going through of like, I don't get the point of all of this. I'm feeling really isolated in this like world that's changing rapidly in front of me, and I don't know how to deal with it. So I thought it was really cool to me when I kind of made that connection in my head of like, these are the things I was feeling. There's this poem that's really beautiful that I can create allusions to. And oh, by the way, like it's foreshadowing because it's the person that I eventually fall in love with, like her favorite poem. So I'm kind of just a nerd when it comes to layering and allusions. There's obviously a Dolly Parton reference that I snuck in there. Like I love throwing in little references too here and there. So
Yeah, no, that complex the layers of thinking and the cross ties and correlations is really, really neat. I do that in my books, not songwriting, but
hey, no, yeah, it's like, I don't know if you feel the same way, but like for me, like my favorite artists and poets and writers, like the layering is what brings me back, and like always wants to go back and reread something or re-listen to something. I was like, oh, like I hadn't thought about it this way, or I wonder if they meant this. And I don't want people to just listen to a song one time. I want them to listen to it and think, wait, did he just say this? Well, I'm going to go back and re-listen to that, or I want to see if he was actually like referring to this. And for me, it just creates a much deeper like experience for whoever's actually going to be consuming the art.
yeah, no, absolutely. Not on the same but I think that it really displays the level of layers, not just in the actual art itself, but just the depth to you as a person, which is really cool. And I think that's why people attach to certain artists. Like people who love music don't typically, not always, but most of the time they don't just love like the individual song. People become obsessed with the artists, like this fan type of crowd that people get because of the depth to a person. Like Eminem's songs, NF is like the most relevant to me. Like I don't dislike Eminem, but NF is the one that really resonates with me. The reason that people love NF is because he's real and his stories are real life. And it's exactly that. They have to go back and listen to the lyrics multiple times and it resonates. And love is something that resonates with everybody, regardless of the feelings that it evokes, whether those feelings are good feelings or bad feelings or conflicted feelings. It's something that everybody can relate to in some capacity, which is what makes you relatable and somebody that people gravitate to as an artist.
No, yeah, I appreciate that. And I think we may have talked about this last time too, and it's like a good and bad thing. But if you think about, to your point, like love songs they tend to make up probably 70% of the songs that get made, right? Because it is that universal human experience that, like it or not, we're all chasing for, whether it is romantic love or, love from family, or just love in terms of like life fulfillment and loving a passion or what, like a business or any of those kind of things. But, popular music's been around now for like 70 years. And so like all the traditional love songs have been written to this point. So I think that's kind of what I find interesting and challenging is like, I'm not the first person, nor will I be the last to sit down and try to write a love song. So I really want whatever I put out to be so unique to me, and not just adding to the pile, but starting new conversations and creating something that's fresh. Uh, because so much great work has already been done in that arena. So that's kind of like another way that I also look at it.
Right. So on this concept of merry-go-round too, I mean, like that it started from a place of, my mom went and did this. It was almost a place of frustration. Maybe not, maybe more so answer seeking, but like I can feel it when you talk about it. Like I want answers. And that's what the whole first EP is. Is this real? What does it look like? What does it like feel like? And obviously there was this event where you fell in love with who you're with now, which is phenomenal. But what are the things that you had to heal from where that first EP connects to that second EP and they are able to bridge and come together? Like not just as an artist, as a person.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think we talked about this on last year, but obviously, losing my dad when I was 6 years old, and having to, not only that, but I lost my grandmother, an aunt, and a grandfather all within a few years. So there was a lot of death in my life as a kid and a lot of feelings of abandonment. And I think that has shaped a lot of my life, both in terms of like romantic partners and friendships, and this kind of constant feeling of needing to go overboard with my own emotional investment, and even a monetary investment, and just like over investing in a lot of things that maybe I shouldn't have, because I was so desperate for people to not leave and not abandon me. And that's something that I had started to recognize and started to really work on. And, I've been working on it, and I'm in a much better place now than I was in the past. But, that was a core thing I really felt like I needed to heal from. And then I think too, I think we talked a little bit about it last year, but the idea that like my mom talks about my dad, and they had this amazing, wonderful relationship, and she says they never fought. It was just like true love from day one, and this like very fairy tale perfect thing. And being exposed to that growing up and wanting that, and then the disconnect of never really finding that, and maybe at times even attaching it to people that weren't really the fairy tale ending. It was just another person that ultimately weren't right for each other. And so I had to go through a lot of those disappointments and a lot of that understanding that I have parts of me that still aren't healed from childhood. And, since I think we, all three of us, talked about, last time, the different things that we've carried with us, that we'll probably always carry with us. But I think the biggest service you can do yourself is just like being aware of it, and then also being very graceful with yourself when you do, still fall into patterns or different ways of thinking, because pretending like just knowing that you have the issue is enough. Like you can't, you also can't pretend like you suddenly it's going to go away and like immediately, right? Like you have to always just be, I think, very gracious with yourself. And when, certain things come back up, and make you feel some of that pain.
One of the things I do like about merry-go-round, and just the title of it itself, is it's very descriptive. Like people, if they don't sit there and listen to the words, you can, if you know the songs about love, you can almost already visualize merry-go-round. You can visualize spinning, doing the same thing over and over, trying to find life, and so what was the defining moment that kind of got you off of the merry-go-round and saying, this is the right person? This is the person that I don't want to just be spinning around doing life. I want to get off my ride, and I want to go on a new adventure. I want to go on that new adventure of life to see where this can take me, And I think there's a second part of it, which you just talked about, is that we have these experiences and we're always growing and learning. There's part of us that's always stuck on that merry-go-round.
Yep.
So as you choose to get off the ride and choose your new adventure, right? She has her merry-go-round where she has issues that she's done. You have yours on a merry-go-round, and you're trying to navigate life. And where do you see how do you see that path forward?
Yeah, I think the biggest indicator of like actually meeting someone that you do have a deep connection with is continuing to push the boundaries of intimacy in terms of like sharing your past and sharing things that you know are going to be maybe triggering or like that you're not proud of or like X, Y, and Z. And that's actually what the song on the EP, How to Please Elise, is about. It's this concept of like, Chappell Roan has that song called Karma is My Kink, which is like, you know, more cheeky and funny. But like How to Please Elise, like the kink is like opening up and telling me about yourself and establishing trust and establishing true levels of like support and understanding and wanting to understand the other person, and being very like giving and gracious with your time and your energy to understand that person. So to answer like part of your early question, like early on having like very deep and honest conversations about the past and who we were and who we want to be and what the struggles might be to get there and what happens if you don't get there, like all these kind of like very big life questions, and being able to share that with someone who doesn't get overwhelmed and walk away or feels as comfortable sharing with you as you do with them. Like to me, that's the ultimate like prize and thing that, is worth striving for.
Do you feel like honesty about your past um, can be harmful in a relationship? And if so, like what does that balance look like between honesty being helpful, being vulnerable with somebody, and when it can become potentially detrimental?
Yeah, I mean it's a great question, right? And I think it's one that there's no right answer for other than you have to know who you're talking to, right? Like you have to have spent the time understanding who they are as a person, the things they care about, the things they don't care about, the things you care about, the things you don't care about. I think it's a judgment call, right? Like I think some people go into things knowing that there's a past and they're like, no, I'm good. I don't care what happened. Like all I care about is what happens this day forward. And some people really do want to dig in and get a true understanding of every single step it took to lead you there. And then there's people that want in between of all that. Right. So I think it's really before choosing which path to go, it's knowing who you're talking to and what they want. And it's a two-way street, obviously, letting them know what you want to know about versus what you don't want to know about and being okay with that.
Right. Yeah, the right person shouldn't have to apologize for the wrong person's decisions. And not just like in romantic relationships. I agree with your answer. I think that it's less about is it healthy to share the past, and it's more about the context of the sharing, the stage of the relationship, and how that person is reciprocating or responding to that vulnerability. I think that healthy love will want to know what those triggers can be, and in healthy relationships in general will want to know what those triggers are, not for the sake of exploiting vulnerability, but for the sake of understanding how to approach things that are still sensitive and parts of us as individuals that are still working on being healed, that we're working on growing and tending to as people. Um, so I think that's really well said. I think that it can become detrimental when people use it as a scapegoat for their actions rather than confronting those parts of themselves. So it's exactly what I would have said too. Do you feel like healing is something that you need to, I'm going to put finish in quotes because I know that the answer is that we never fully heal, but like, are there parts of us that need to be tended to prior to love, or is it something that love continues that healing?
Phenomenal question. And I'd be really curious to hear what you both think on that subject. Like my thought is it's probably in the middle, right? Like I think if you wait till you're fully healed from everything to try and fall in love, you're probably closing yourself off to a lot of healing that could happen if you meet the right person who is going to come in with a perspective that's outside of your own or outside your therapist or whoever you talk to about it like daily. Like I think that person can be a really powerful, different mirror for yourself. That if you cut yourself off from falling in love or even putting yourself out there because you're not quote unquote done healing yet, like you could be missing out on taking an even bigger step than you could on your own. But that being said, I think it's also being honest with yourself, right? Like there are people that have been through terrible, terrible things that will take years and years to properly heal from. And being in a relation, like jumping into a relationship, could be detrimental to that healing, and it could, potentially push away someone who is right for them, but it's just not the right time. Like, I think it's all dependent on the individual, what you've been through, and what stage of like the healing process you're really in, versus it being like you know, a this or that type thing.
Yeah, I guess my point of view on it is that, and I kind of agree a majority of what you said. First of all, you're never going to be completely healed, so nobody would be married if that was the case, or in a relationship if that was the case.
Smart people, you mean?
Right.
But I think both the previous question and this question go together. There are people who just jump from relationship to relationship and don't heal. And so, first of all, that is not healthy. I think you need to do some healing. Like, if you need to heal from the previous relationship that you were in. If you're not healed from the previous relationship you're in, then getting into a new relationship is not a good idea.
I would say that you need to fall like, so the relationship thing, sure, like that's part of it. But I think that people need to heal from their childhood selves. Like, there's these 4 quadrants of ourselves. There's the critic, there's the protector, there's the child, like the vulnerable child, and then there's this concept of the healthy adult, right? And those 4 quadrants have to work together. Like, the protector serves a purpose, the critic serves a purpose, the vulnerable child has its purpose, and the healthy adult obviously has its purpose too. But like, you have to be healed from the things that have happened to you as a person, not just in relationships, in order to have a healthy relationship. Because people don't usually fall in love with what's healthy. They fall in love with what's familiar.
Yeah. And I was going to get to that point also.
I just wanted
my point.
to understand.
Yeah, no. And my point is that why I said that the first question you asked is related. If you can't be honest with somebody about your past, then that's probably a good red flag for you to start with. And what I'm talking about is, like, if you're dealing with childhood trauma, right? You're dealing with stuff from up. That's a lifelong process. And so they have to know what they're getting into. You have to be willing to, like, say, this is where I am in my process. Like, I don't think you have to be completely healed of that to be in a relationship. But you do have to be honest and saying, this is where I've healed and this is where I still have to do healing. And because if you're not honest with that person, then that person is entering into a relationship with you and is getting blindsided, because then at some end that trauma is going to surface, and then they're going to be like, where the heck did this come from? And that's a worse place to be in than just saying, this is what I'm dealing with. And again, timing does matter. I'm not saying you do this on, the first date and you're like, hey,
By the way,
I'm not over my daddy issues.
Oh boy.
But I mean, it's before you get serious. You got to have some honest conversations, which a lot of people don't want to have, or they're scared to have because they're afraid that somebody may look at them differently. But if they're not willing to, if they're going to look at you differently at that point, then what's going to happen when if you don't tell them and they realize it later on, they're going to not only be mad that you at that point, but they're going to be even more madder that you didn't let them know. So
Yep.
it's this thing where I think, like, that honesty does matter. Like, if you can't be honest with somebody, then that's probably not the person for you to be with, in all honesty. But we want this attachment. We want to feel loved. We want to love somebody else. So we sacrifice that a lot of times. And that's why the divorce rate is so high, is because we don't do the work properly ahead of time to make sure we're right with the right person.
Yeah, 100%. No, and I think that's the thing that is still, like, not like a common fallacy, but it's like, just because you've fallen in love with someone doesn't mean suddenly there's not work involved. Like, there's always work. Like, we are always, no matter what relationship you are, whether it's in a romantic relationship, with your parent, with a sibling, with a friend, with an enemy. Like, every relationship requires constant maintenance and constant work and constant evaluation of who you are in the relationship, how the other person might be in the relationship. And I think that's like the bigger thing about life, is that like it's never going to just be like plug and play, right? And I think that like knowing that and being willing to put the work in and all of that is something that I've definitely like come to realize over the last couple of years, and is something I'm continuing to work on. And to me is really, really important, is to constantly just be thinking about, you know, am I showing up for this relationship in the ways that I need to, in order for it to still be the great relationship that I know it already is and want it to continue being.
Somebody said something to me recently, and it had an effect on me. Because I was dating somebody, and somebody asked me, and I was telling them that I was confused if I was with the right person or not. That I really enjoyed, you know, being with them and all this stuff. And the person came back to me, and because the person I was with meant a lot of the things that I left the relationship like from, that I really was searching for. And that person goes, "Are you in love with the fact that she's taking care of where you fell short before, or do you love the person?" And I sat back and I sat there and I was like, wow, I'm drawn because I finally had this communication that I dreamed of with this person. I kind of felt heard. I kind of felt validated, where I didn't feel that in my previous relationship. And it's all things that I really desire. But did I really truly love the person, or did I love what they were giving me? And that was something that I pondered with for a long time, because that isn't just a simple answer. But sometimes that's what happens. We find what we're looking for that other people have not given us, and we fall in love with that instead of the person.
Do you feel like you can fall in love with the right person at the wrong time, or is there no such thing as that?
I think anything is possible, quite honestly. Like, I believe that like there's not really a right answer to any of it. I think there's people that, you know, they don't necessarily quote unquote fall in love, but they end up being in love with someone that they choose to commit to, because their love language is commitment and building a life with someone else. And I think you see that with couples that talk about like, yeah, like it was a different time, and you just got married in your early 20s because that's what you're supposed to do. But then later on, because I dedicated my life to this person, like I actually ended up like growing more in love with them the older we got and the longer we were together. And then you hear stories about people, you know, falling in love and thinking that this was their person, and suddenly, because it was so short in the beginning part of the relationship, that they found out 5 years later they weren't really right for each other, or the right time becomes like, I feel like there's so many different factors to it that like you can only ever be like partially right about whatever advice you give someone, right? Like, I love to give relationship advice, but at the same time, it always comes with the asterisk of like, it's
Right.
always going to be completely different depending on all of the factors we've been talking about, right? So I don't know, like, what do you think about
Well, it's just, I think that the counter argument that people make is that if it was the right person, it wouldn't be the wrong time. And I don't know if I have an answer to that yet, to be honest with you, but I'll let you know when I figure it out.
that? I think that's one of the beautiful things about love in general, though, right? Like, it's like death. It's like it's anything that we will never have 100% answer for. Like, we can sit and talk about it, and I love talking about it, but it's kind of in that like sacred ground of like, you will never know 100% for sure what the answer is. Like, we know 100% that the background in your video right now, Sydney, is black. Like, there's nothing that is going to refute that statement. But could we sit here and say unequivocally that you can fall in love with at the wrong time? Like, no, we literally can't. And I think that's, again, what's so cool about having these conversations is we all bring our own experiences. We all bring our own perspective on it that can maybe get us towards agreement on something, but it's still never going to be 100%.
This probably is going to go the same way that last question. do you believe that there's just one person out there for you, like your true love? Or do you think that there's a bunch of people that could be your true love and you just have to run into one of them?
I I think I tend to lean towards the latter, and not obviously from personal experience, but I've connected through with friends or family friends, whatever, where there was a woman who was married for like 50 years and her husband passed away in, I think, like her 60s or something like that. And then she ended up falling in love with, like, quote unquote, another love of her life when she was like 87 years old, and got married and has been married to this person for like 8 years now, and is like just as happy as she was with her first husband when she was 20. Um, so yeah, I think, like we talked about, I think emotional connection and seeing eye to eye on a lot of things, and physical, compatibility, those are all important items. Um, but the work you put into making a relationship sustainable is equally as important to that. So I think, yeah, if you met someone else and you both were willing to put the work in, like, who says they couldn't be the same level of love as with someone else? There probably statistically is a lot of the one out there at any given time for you, but it's a matter of, um, you know, are you committed to the one that you're with, and not concerned about the fact that there could be other people out there? And I think that's where the work comes in.
Yeah, no, that's the truth. That actually like brought my follow-up question, because that one hits really close to home to me, the one that John just asked, because my mom passed away when I was 13. And so when my dad got remarried, it was very shortly after, and he hadn't known her before. Like, they met on an online dating app, ironically, since that's been something that we've talked about. And for the longest time, my stepmom used to say that she just felt like my dad was her person, that she was made for him. And in my child brain at the time, that meant that my mom wasn't, that those two were not meant for each other. And so that was really hard for me to comprehend. And then there's this whole separate issue of people falling in love while they're with someone else. So, like, that segue question or follow-up question, if you can fall in love with someone else while you're with someone, did you ever love the first person?
It's a hard question, right? Like, I think,
Like those here.
I know. No, I mean, I think we as humans, we're not perfect, right? Like, I think life happens, and that story you just mentioned, it's probably happened countless times to countless people that probably were in love with the first person, right? Like, I don't think you can take that away. It'd be like saying, like, yeah, like, I have a best friend, but now I met a new best friend.
Right.
Does that mean I don't love the best friend? Or I have a new pet, and does that mean I don't love the original? Like, all these different things. Like, I think we have the capacity to love in ways that we don't even understand. And so, obviously, is it right to allow yourself to fall in love with someone else while you're dating someone else, or while you're in love with someone else? That's probably up to the individual. But I think to pretend like it's not a natural human thing is turning a blind eye to something that's very, very much something that happens for people.
Really like the best friend analogy, because it's true. It sets a different type of boundary, right? Like, when you have a best friend, it doesn't mean that you can't have multiple people that you have that same type of relationship dynamic with, because the boundaries of that type of relationship look different. So then it becomes a matter of what boundaries were potentially violated in this individual relationship that allowed you to fall in love with someone else, when we're talking about the context of romantic love. So I can really appreciate that.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it comes down to that concept of, like, the equalizing factor is the work. Like, are you willing? Like, say you meet someone that you had no, like, you weren't out there looking for it, you just happened to meet them, and you are like, there's feelings that bubble up and all these different things. Like, it's up to you. Like, you're in a monogamous relationship. Like, you either are going to put the work in to stick with your current person because you are you at one point were in love with them, or you are in love with them, and it takes work to ignore this new thing. Or, again, it's down to the individual and your personal code of conduct. And if you want to work on the new relationship, then you're making that choice, right? And you're choosing not to work on the existing one. At that point, you probably have to have an honest conversation with that person you're in a relationship with. But yeah, no, I think, again, human nature is what it is. It comes down to what you do with that, and what you're willing to do, and what lines are you willing to cross or not cross.
Mhm.
So the final song on your album is called Sway. And I believe you described it as one of your best. I want to say one of your greatest love songs ever written. And again, I'm going to go with the imagery because I love imagery. And when when I first heard Sway, I kind of picture, and I think this is where you're going with the song, but you could tell me if I was wrong. You either picture two people, arm in arm, swaying back and forth like this, or for me, I pictured like the old couple swinging on a bench swing, sitting on their porch, watching the sunset or something, But that was more. I leaned more towards the swaying on a porch swing back and forth. But I mean, the swaying side to side can still work. But uh, is that what you were going with the song, or tell us about
That's certainly the
what
feeling
you
of
call
it.
it?
It's certainly the feeling of it. It's actually in reference to like very slow dancing, like just swaying, almost like you're not trying to dance. It's just like the natural side to side kind of swaying thing. But it's actually there's tie-ins to Merry-Go-Round. The entire EP is called Long Overdue May Lilies, obviously. And it's this metaphor that's been done 100 times about like blooming and like from these deep roots you grow into this strong flower. And my girlfriend's favorite flower is a lily, like so I bought her lilies many times, obviously. And the idea that there's two of these lilies also swaying in the wind as the sun sets in the background, so it ties in a little bit to what you're saying with that image. But the song itself was inspired by true events. It was our first New Year's Eve together. We happened to just be us two at her parents' beach house. And we listened to a bunch of songs that at midnight, specifically leading up to it. God Only Knows by the Beach Boys came on. It's one of both of our favorite love songs. It's just an absolute masterpiece. And so that's where I stole that line for Sway of the God Only Knows part as a reference to that. But it really was just this incredibly intimate 3-minute moment of us dancing and the clock counting down and to this new year. And it just felt like this whole new life was being kind of like born in this very simple moment.
Yeah. Well, eventually the butterflies fade, but the peace that comes with the relationship doesn't.
Exactly. So yeah. And it's one obviously that references a lot of like seeing into the future, but it also comes back to, I think, the core of it, which is just finding someone who makes you want to be better and get up every day to, make their life better and make the lives of everyone around them better. And, you know, all of these like seemingly simple, but really fulfilling kind of feelings. So yeah,
I have one last question.
Good.
hit me.
Last year, this podcast, when we were talking about the first EP, asked, like, we were wondering if true love existed, and today you're living it. So if somebody's listening to where you were a year ago with that, and not actually a year ago, because we've talked about how the fact for 18 months prior, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But like that skeptical, guarded, convinced that love either isn't meant for them or that it's too risky, what would you want to tell them?
It's so funny that we're having this conversation right now because on the 4th of July, went out with some friends, had some adult beverages, was having a good night. And we were just talking to this group of people. And like this girl was in the group who shares literally the same name as my girlfriend. And I was trying to set her up with one of my friends and he went off, whatever. But we were having this conversation. I literally sat there and told her like point blank, I was like, I am the poster child for this. Like I was where you are now and I lost faith in finding love. And like, what other choice do you have other than to just like keep going forward and keep believing in it? Just because it hasn't happened yet, there are stories of people meeting their true love and finding fulfillment 5 decades into their life. And there are people that meet their soulmate when they're 14 and they end up being together forever, right? Like there literally is no way to predict it. And the only thing that can stop you is not living your own life and putting yourself out there. And, I think another side of it too, though, is like it's not just falling in love with someone else. Like they need to fall in love with you too, right? So like you need to be a person worthy of falling in love with, in terms of like you have to be kind to yourself and you have to take care of yourself and respect yourself and know when you need time to step away, when you need time to push forward. Like it's not just waiting for one person to come out of nowhere and change your life. Like your lives will be changed together, and that's partially because of who you are. And I think like the self-love component of love is so important. And one thing again that I had kind of lost touch with as well. So it wasn't just me falling in love with someone else. It was also, it happened at a time when I had started to like really fall back in love with myself too. And it's only kind of worked in tandem since then.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Love it.
And I got one final question then, and I'm going to take you forward and then backwards.
Yeah.
All in one question. So, when you have kids, and I'm not putting any pressure on you, okay? But when the two of you have kids and you're talking to your kids and you want to tell them about the time that you met their mother, what is going to be the thing that you want them to know on why their mom was so special?
Well, obviously, I have to make an 11-season sitcom starring Josh Radnor and Jason Segel and draw it out forever. That's, you know,
Exactly.
that's the way you do that, right? No, I mean, I think it'll just start with the basis of a lot of our relationship was that like she made me laugh really early on, and I was able to make her laugh really early on in a way that like we kind of both looked at each other like, oh, you're way funnier than you have any right to be. And like we had that immediate disarming chemistry, right? Like it wasn't just like, oh, like I think you're attractive, or oh, we like the same things. Like to me, laughter is kind of this sneaky X factor, because it's so intimate, because everyone has a different sense of humor, and it's so disarming in a way too. Like, you know, I know when I'm getting myself in hot water with her, like my best way out is to like make a joke. Uh, and like it's just such a beautiful way to connect and disarm and make light of tough situations. And not that you can joke your way out of everything, but I think just leading with telling my kids, like, your mom was so funny and she got my humor right off the bat and we haven't stopped laughing.
So, me and Sydney definitely won invitations to the wedding.
Done.
And I expect when you have twins, you're going to name them Philly and Sydney.
Done deal. We'll put it in writing.
I'm sorry that he imposed that on.
If I remember correctly, because I put in a Tom Petty reference last time, he said, whenever I need him to reach out to him.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Yep.
So funny.
no, I wouldn't name my kids John. Really.
Yeah, no, I
Just don't do
don't
that.
like my name.
I'm not that that person who needs people named after him. You know, that was a
Totally.
complete joke. But that's going to take us to our key takeaway segment. For me, it's just you know, being in the moment and realizing that love is special, you know, and it's something that will come around when it's supposed to come around. I think sometimes people look too hard for it and try to make it happen, and that's the thing that I think I love about your journey is that you're writing an EP on what love is, and you're kind of frustrated. You're kind of not even really looking for it, you know. And Pop, she just walked into a bar, you know, or and stole your heart, and that's, to me, that's the way it's supposed to happen. I think a lot of times I hear people, like, I see people posting, like, really working real hard. I'm like, dude, the moment you stop trying so hard is the moment that somebody's going to see you for you. I think, um, when we want something too bad, we kind of taint it. It just it gives off the wrong impression of who we are. And I really do want everybody to experience love, but allow it to happen naturally, you know. And I I'm just I'm so excited again that we've gotten to take this journey with you. And no, and seriously, I can't wait because I do think that this is real, and I think that I do expect to be at the wedding because like I know you are a totally awesome guy, and if she has caught your eye, then she is a totally awesome woman. So I wish you extreme happiness, and I'm rooting for you. I'm excited to see your journey, and yeah, I'm happy.
No, I appreciate that, man. Definitely getting the invite to the wedding. Don't worry about that.
I mean, echoing what he said, I think that it's my key takeaway is similar. Love isn't just about finding the right person. It's about becoming the right person when that person arrives, because healing is a journey. And you kind of said it right at the beginning of the episode, and that's just kind of resonated with me the whole time. Like when you talked about taking care of yourself through this last winter, it wasn't just about taking care of yourself. It was about the fact that there was more to it than that, because you realize when you love somebody that your well-being directly impacts other people that you love and that love you. And that is the essence of so much of love, is doing what's right for the other person, even when that means taking care of ourselves, which sometimes can be the hardest part of love, is like self-care. Speaking from my experience anyways, so often though we convince ourselves that love doesn't exist, when really what we're carrying is either fear or self-protection or old wounds that come from or just our past and our lives, and we project that onto what we think love will be or what that will look like. But healthy love doesn't complete you. It just calls out the healthiest version of you. Um, and that's a big thing, because I think that's what I've had to wrestle with in these last couple of years too, is recognizing what love brings out in you and then reflecting on, is that love then? And that's kind of what I love about these two EPs too, is that the first one asks, does love even exist? And this one answers that question. But so sometimes, in other words, the answer isn't no, it's not yet. And that kind of echoes what John said about, like, just let go of the timing. Don't feel the need to control that. Just focus on you. Do the deep healing, do the deep work in yourself and the pieces of you that can love another person. And that's just going to make your relationship, when it does come to you, so much more fulfilling too.
I love the sentiment about you, like, don't take care of yourself just for yourself. Take care of yourself because there are other people who love you and want you to be the best version of yourself, and want you to be the best version of yourself as long as you can be. So yeah, it's a humbling experience in that too, where you kind of learn it's not just about you. It is about, everyone else. So
Mhm. Yeah. And as per tradition with key takeaways, if you wanted to leave our viewers with one gold nugget of wisdom, which you've left them with a dozen or more, but what would you want them to take away from our episode today, our 1-year anniversary with you?
yeah, I think the biggest thing I come back to is like, okay, we've talked about all these different lofty ideas, and not being able to have answers for everything, right? Like not being able to say unequivocally when you'll find love, or if you are in love and you meet someone else, like all those different things. I think the biggest thing that I've taught myself and had to keep learning is just like really give yourself a lot of grace, because there are so many things you can't control. Control what you can, confront what you can't, but at the whole time, just be kind to yourself, because that's how you're going to attract the right person. Because people want other people that are kind to other people, and you can't be kind to other people if you're not kind to yourself. So
Love it. Awesome.
Love it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. And that's going to normally bring us to our final five, but since You're a returning guest. We're going to change stuff up, and we're going to have two different segments to end out the show. And I'm going to give it over to Sydney, who's going to do the first segment. So,
So your first segment is just going to be word association. And I'm going to say something, and without overthinking it, I just want you to tell me what comes to mind when you think about it, okay?
All right, let's do it.
First one for you is going to be Valentine's Day.
Cozy.
I like that. All right, you're going to like this one. The next one for you is Tom Petty.
Life.
Life. Just collective.
He's my life.
Sharing a bathroom.
Intimacy.
That's cute.
not the way I thought somebody would answer, but love it.
Yeah, truly. Okay. A girl paying the bill on a date.
Normal.
Okay.
But I was going to say context. I was like, the context matters there if it's normal or.
Yeah, sure. I understand.
Yeah,
I can appreciate the the segue there.
Yeah. Like, again, not a move I would do early on, but also not something that I'm like, shame on that. There's always context.
Yep. Romance movies.
Relaxing.
Okay. Pat Benatar.
Badass.
Scary movies.
Fun at times.
Okay. Stealing the sheets.
My MO.
My MO. Favorite childhood memory.
Tom Petty.
Yeah, full circle. I love that. Okay, Full House or Love Island?
Full House.
Good deal.
Awesome.
It has to be. I think that I'd judge you a little bit if you had said Love Island.
Well, I put the Love Island in there just because it's a thing on love. I wanted to see if you would go Love Island because
love is a loose term with that show. I think lust is probably a better apropos adjective for that.
Very, very true.
and for the final, we're gonna have fun. You like to laugh, so we'll see how well this plays. But it's gonna be a different version of Mad Libs.
Okay.
I'll talk more about it after I get some words from you. So the first word I need is a noun.
A noun. Car.
And I need a second noun.
Frisbee. I don't know.
It's going good. I like it. Give me a second. Gotta catch up. Third one is a proper noun.
Prince. The artist formerly known as Prince.
I need a place.
Hogwarts.
And I need a verb.
Dive.
Another verb. Or no, let's do emotion.
Emotion. Let's go just happy. I don't know. What are emotions?
Maybe I should have gone for it, but because that's not going to work.
Go like grinning, laughing. One of those two.
Do a verb. Do a verb instead.
Swim.
And a noun.
Baseball.
And just two more, and we're done.
Two more nouns.
No, it's going to be an adverb and then a verb.
I feel so out of touch with school.
Oh my gosh, isn't that the truth?
Adverb is a descriptive for the verb.
Yep. Go proudly.
Proudly. And then the verb.
Skipping.
Yeah, the first time I played this game in forever, I was like, my teachers would be so disappointed in me, but I am mutually so disappointed that I didn't know how to do half of the real life things that I needed to be able to do when I graduated. So screw them.
Give me 2 seconds, and I'm going to tell you what you just did. And you're going to love it, I think. I think you're going to love it.
And
The
as a matter
chorus
of fact, should turn it into a song. Just a real.
Literally.
Fill in the blanks, let them turn it into something, tag us.
Well, it is going to have to do with the song.
Don't.
But I redid a Tom Petty song.
Oh, okay.
So you know the song, and so
I'm so excited
now. So I figured this is what is it? Music libs. So
music.
So free falling. I did the first 2 verses in the chorus.
Okay.
Written by unknowingly DK.
Unknown.
She's a good car. Loves her frisbee. Loves Jesus and America too. She's a good car. Crazy about Prince. Loves horses and her boyfriend too. It's a long day living in Hogwarts. There's a freeway. Dive right through the yard. And I'm a bad boy because I don't even swim to her. And I'm a bad boy for breaking her baseball. And I'm proudly skipping. Yeah, I'm proudly skipping.
It sounds like
like this would be such a funny video if he just like did this in a clip. I'm so serious. Just acoustic guitar, sang that, filled it in, and then posted it with 0 comments.
I was gonna try. She's a good car.
I mean, send me those lyrics. I will do it. It literally sounds like if Tom Petty wrote that song when he was like 10 years old, between the car, maybe riding in the back of the car, the frisbee, the baseball, like, you know, and he's proudly skipping because he's too young to know what heartbreak is.
Exactly.
Like, I was like, we got to do something fun. I got to do something with Tom Petty and Free Falling to bring it full circle. I'm like, what can I do? Let's just change some of the words in the song.
There you go. Well, that was your special final segment since you are a repeat guest. But DK, we've loved having you on for our year anniversary. None other. Wouldn't have had anybody else. But for those of our viewers who maybe didn't get to see her first, we encourage you to go watch it. For those of our viewers and listeners who are not yet following you, where can they go to connect with you, listen to your EP, download your music, all of that?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at DK Lyons, LYONS 714. YouTube is DK Lyons Music, and then I'm on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, all the different streaming platforms. You can find that music there.
Awesome.
And I have you penciled in for next year since we were 2 days apart. So I expect like 2 days apart from here. Like,
well, that means I got to have new music coming out for next year too. So this will be a good deadline. Be like, nope, I got to.
Even if you don't have music coming out, we'd still have you on.
I love talking to y'all.
And we would still have you on.
Yeah. and you just know that you can never have an early July wedding. That's all.
Literally
booked early July.
No, if you propose and you're looking at anywhere between the 8th and 10th of July, just know that you're already
literally booked. Yep. So that's I'll note that down. Thank you both for having me. It's been
thanks for respecting the already existing relationship here.
Exactly.
As my daughter would say, but we're besties.
No, I'll keep you all posted about the next show. We'll have to get you out for it. like I said, I've got merch with your names on it set aside already. So you guys are awesome. Thank you for having me again.
No, it's always our pleasure. And as always, when we take the time to hear somebody's story, it gives us an opportunity to find common ground. Thank you, DK, for being our special guest and celebrating our anniversary episode with us. For Sydney and myself, it is our pleasure being your host, and you have been listening to the Common Ground Podcast. God bless. Good night. See you in year 2.
And that's it for today's episode of the Common Ground Podcast. We hope you're leaving with a little more perspective, a little more purpose, and a whole lot more inspiration.
So thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it. Thank you to our special guest.
If today's conversation moved you, encouraged you, or challenged you in any way, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, rate it, leave us a review. Your support helps us reach more people who need to find their own common ground.
So for John Fletcher and Sydney Curtin,
we'll see you right here next week, same time, same place on the Common Ground Podcast.
Please take a moment to listen to this disclosure from the Common Ground Podcast. The Common Ground Podcast is dedicated to exploring commonality among individuals with diverse perspectives. Our guests may present unique worldviews related to health, psychology, and overall well-being. Please note that the Common Ground Podcast does not directly promote or endorse any specific ideas, concepts, or actions discussed during our episodes. Listeners are encouraged to approach the information shared with discernment and to consult with their mental and/or physical health providers before making any changes to their health or wellness practices. The views expressed by guests and hosts are their own and do not directly reflect the opinions of the Common Ground Podcast. Your well-being is important, and we advocate for informed decision-making. Thanks for listening.